I've mentioned before in other Drunk on Writing videos that The Last of Us from Naughty Dog is my absolute favorite video game of all time. With clever yet simple writing, a profound narrative full of tough choices and consequences, and gameplay designed to just simply get your heart flying right out of your chest. The Last of Us is the most put together cinematic experience I've ever had the pleasure of playing through. But for those of you who have completed the game, or if you're like me, have probably played it a few too many times than is healthy, the ending has proven a bit divisive. I don't want to go into it just yet, because I want to say this before we go anywhere. There will be spoilers for The Last of Us. Oh yes, absolute spoilers. We're going into full-on spoiler territory. So, if you haven't beaten the game yet, please bookmark this page and go do it. Go play it. Go play it now. It's on the PS3, it's on the PS4. Download it, buy it, get it used. I don't care. Go play it before you watch this, because it is worth it. Totally worth it. Go ahead. I'll wait. That said, for those of you who are sticking around, I have one question for you. Does The Last of Us have any, let alone a single, bad guy? Let's break it down in this month's dissection. Today, I'm drinking a lovely premixed Bacardi Zombie. I thought it was kind of appropriate. It's a little sweet for my taste. Maybe if I made it fresh, it'll be a bit better. But this isn't that bad, and it was a hell of a lot easier to make. I simply just poured it over ice. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, please subscribe to the channel, or if you're feeling really rambunctious, go on over to patreon.com/drunkonwriting and consider becoming a patron. There you can get exclusive videos, behind the scenes looks, and even some bloopers and fun little tidbits. Housekeeping out of the way, and let me just say it one more time, we're going full on spoilers for The Last of Us. So, you played The Last of Us, you know exactly what we're talking about. So let me ask you this. Joel's the bad guy, right? Right? I've seen this reaction thrown around since The Last of Us debuted, and honestly, it's a bit hard to counter. For one, we play into and witness Joel being an outright mercenary right from the start of the game. Someone steals his stuff, beats up his woman, what does he do? Okay, he doesn't really pull the trigger on Robert, but he doesn't exactly say, "Don't do it, Tess." Then, he gives zero shits about Ellie at the start, figuring her for just another job until Tess really impresses her importance upon him by, well, again, spoilers, dying pretty miserably. And that's all on top of the slight asides Joel gives throughout the campaign. The ones that really kind of indicate it's only by chance that Joel is the protagonist for this particular mission that we're playing through. But then we have the game's ending. And I mean, Joel goes on a literal killing spree. He just decimates them. And even if you manage to sneak your way through those final sections, you can't stop him from killing the doctor. Believe me, I tried. I sat there waiting. Like, what else can I do? Can I jab him with the butt of my gun? Knock him out? No. No, you cannot. You have to kill him. So, really, in his fury, Joel kills what very well may be humanity's best option at countering the cordyceps virus. And he's the good guy? Not only that, when directly questioned about it, he straight-faced lies to Ellie, even diminishes her in a way. What a dick, right? But then, let's look at it in reverse. Joel lost his daughter at the outbreak of the virus, so of course he's guarded. He's a survivor. He has to be. He's done what he's needed to do in order to survive, just like everyone else. And when it comes to that doctor, to all those fireflies he has to plow through to get to Ellie, they're going to cut her head open. They're going to take out her brain, study it, and just toss her body in the trash like it was some kind of expended rag doll. Can you really blame him for not wanting that to happen to his so-called baby girl? Especially given his history? I can't. I'd probably do very much the same thing. Am I a bad guy? No, I'm a father, and I'm not letting anybody cut my baby's head off. Not doing it. Now keep in mind, this was also after Joel almost lost Ellie several times throughout the game. Also after she's nursed him back to health, and also after he'd witness how strong she can be against someone as vile and all-around super amazingly creepy as David. Speaking of David. Okay, let's get this out of the way. Yes, David is a cannibal. Yes, he leads a gang of cannibals. He also is a little bit too overtly friendly to a 14-year-old. And yes, he tries to kill and eat Ellie and possibly also rape her. So I can see how it'd be hard to say he's not really one of the bad guys, but I'm going to try that anyway. First off, the cannibalism. Remember, this is the dead of winter in a zombie apocalypse. Food is scarce, and every person within a community needs it. Every new person to come into community needs it as well. And so while I don't condone cannibalism, I also tend to think back to the time my cousin asked me, extremely hypothetically, what I would do if I just so happened to be on a plane that crashed into the Himalayas. If I had to turn to cannibalism to survive, would I? Well, would you? Honestly. Then there's the attraction to Ellie. Some have called this pedophilia, or somewhat more accurately, hebephilia, an attraction to early adolescent children. But I'm not entirely sold on that. Again, we have to look at this in the context of devastation, of a post-apocalyptic world. When David shows his first open signs of attraction for Ellie, it was only after he'd watched her take down dozens of infected, including a bloater. She's badass. He was also armed with the knowledge that she had helped take out several members of his crew alongside Joel. So, from his perspective, here's a girl, not yet a woman, granted, okay, that knows some amazing survival techniques, that doesn't put up any fronts, that knows her shit. In a world where there are fewer and fewer females every day, why wouldn't he want to keep her at his side? But what I think truly makes David a sympathetic character, and not really a bad guy, is that it seems pretty obvious, at least to me, that he has some, shall we call them, mental balancing issues? He's a great leader, sure, and he knows how to keep his people together, but there's a screw or two loose up there. And here's the thing about that. If this weren't a post-apocalyptic war zone of a world filled with mindless fungus zombies, David would probably be on medication. He would probably be getting help. He would be more stable, more put together. Perhaps he would be a practically normal person. Perhaps one you'd be working next to, like, right now. Now, I'm not so sure the same could be said about these other guys, though. I'm going to avoid talking about the military that you have to face at the beginning of the game. Frankly, because they're the military, and the military today already has enough shit to deal with without me saying the military are bad guys. Not gonna do that. I think the military does what they need to do when they have to do it. Suffice it to say, whether they're bad or not probably depends a lot on your own personal opinion. But what about the hunters? The bandits? They're not military. They're militia. The hunters we face based out of Pittsburgh, the bandits near and around Jackson County and Tommy's Dam, from Joel and Ellie's perspective, they're clearly the bad guys. But are they really? There's a lot of background information for the hunters in Pittsburgh if you take a look at the game's collectibles or listen to the conversations as you're sneaking around. To sum it all up, the group seized control of the quarantine zone after overthrowing the military, because the military wasn't feeding them from what I can tell. Then, when faced with supply shortages, turned to killing outsiders for supplies. And yeah, they really kill them. Mercilessly. We see a lot of bodies, hear a lot of tales, and even witness it firsthand. Messed up, yes, but I go back to the question I posed earlier. What would you do in that situation? Remember, we first meet the hunters while detouring through Pittsburgh. Joel spots the very first one pretending to be injured and asking for her help. A charade Joel mentioned he'd used at some point as well. So our protagonist has used the exact same means as the antagonists. And when it comes to the bandits, well, I mean, they're a bit more straightforward. They're simply fighting over resources, right? In our largest encounter with them, they want to take over the dam from Tommy and his group so they have access to the power it will generate. That makes sense. And I can foresee multiple instances where, as a so-called good guy, I would have been tasked with taking a dam from the enemy instead of defending it. I think I've actually done that in a game or two. So yeah, bandits, I don't think they're bad in the least. They, just like everyone else, are simply trying to survive. When it comes to the smaller names in The Last of Us, I tend to fall back on what I've already said. They're simply doing what they have to survive. Tess is trying to get her guns. When she's betrayed, when her life is threatened, she fights back. And then she murders someone to ensure it doesn't happen again. Not so good, but what choice did she have? She couldn't exactly go up to the police and say, hey, this guy stole all of my illegal weapons. Please arrest him. Not gonna happen. Robert, he's a businessman who happens to make a bad call crossing Tess. He messed up, but does that make him bad? Well, I'd argue that most businessmen are inherently evil, but that's really kind of beside the point. And kind of goes against my whole premise, doesn't it? Marlene? She's out looking for Ellie and trying to save the human race. And yet she's willing to kill for her cause. Quite a bit, actually. She's also willing to sacrifice Ellie. Though again, if you pay attention to the collectibles, you know how hard that is on her. She probably, honestly, just watched way too much Star Trek as a kid and got Spock's words stuck in her head. That whole bit about the needs of the many. Yeah. And what about Bill? Bill from Billstown, whose lover despised him so much he tried to leave, and in his final note before committing suicide, reminded Bill just how much he hated him. That blows. But Bill, I don't think there's anything bad about him at all. He's grating, sure, and a bit odd after living alone for so long. But bad? Nah. I mean, he risks his life to save Ellie and Joel from a horde of walkers. No one like that can really be all that bad, right? Well, now what about those infected, though? Let me ask you this. Are you a bad person if you have a cold? What if you have a flu? What about AIDS, HIV, Zika? Does having a disease make you a bad person? I don't think so. And I think the same could be said for those infected by the cordyceps virus. That includes runners, stalkers, clickers, and even bloaters. While at least the first two stages are absolutely aware of what's happening. You can hear them crying and moaning about their situation if you sneak around them. It's really absolutely depressing. They can't help it. Their brains have literally been melted. They're walking flesh bags operating on pure instinct to further spread the fungal infection. The one thing I've wondered, though, if those scientists that Joel so mercilessly slaughtered at the end of the game were able to find a cure, would there be hope for everybody who's infected? Could they be cured? And if that is the case, does every survivor automatically become a mass murderer? In retrospect, granted, but still, bit of mass murdering going on at one point or another, right? And if that's the case, could a mass murderer ever really be considered a good guy? This has been Drunk on Writing's look at the bad guys, or lack thereof, of Naughty Dog's The Last of Us, exclusive to the PlayStation brand. My favorite game of all time, one that we're probably going to return to at some point, perhaps around the time of The Last of Us 2, because I'm going to be playing it again before then. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, please comment, please let me know if you think that there are any bad guys or good guys. And if you want to see even more videos like this, please subscribe to the channel or consider going over to patreon.com/drunkonwriting and chipping in to making even more amazing content. Thank you in advance to all of my patrons for helping out, and until next time, I might need more zombie. Cheers, and keep on writing.